Why is it necessary for things to die? Many of our friends have asked such a terrific question. It's a subject that, in actuality, every human has undoubtedly considered at some point. Every single person has to confront the fact of their own death at some point. Everything that is alive will ultimately perish. Although often difficult to accept, it is a fact of life. It can be extremely painful and challenging to deal with the loss of a cherished pet or a close loved one. Why then are we unable to live forever? That question has philosophical and religious components that are well outside the purview of today's topic. But we can examine some of the useful, scientific facets that will help us answer that issue. Even though humans are unable to live forever, we will also examine in this video the potential future extensions of human life. Then why do humans die? Because it's less expensive to die. Genes have it easier to create new bodies than to maintain them in excellent repair. For a lot of complex objects, this is true. Think of automobiles, for instance. As enthusiasts of vintage cars demonstrate, an automobile may run almost indefinitely if desired. However, we usually have a brand new car, use it for a while, and then dump it. This also explains why various things break down as you age. Since neither genes nor automakers have an incentive to make large investments in specific parts, everything is designed to survive for some periods of time. However, because of parasites, it's more harmful to bodies. The longer your body is alive, the more opportunities there are for parasites and viruses, which have far shorter lifespans, to evolve and circumvent your defenses. Thanks to sexual reproduction, a new body offers an opportunity to alter the environment and eliminate the parasites. However, why does the fact that it's less expensive matter? From the gene's point of view, the body serves as a tool to ensure the gene's survival. They don't give a damn about the individual body. Creating new bodies is, after all, an opportunity to experiment with combinations that might be even more effective. Similar to how cars work, the new model's flashy enhancements make it more desirable to trade in the old one. Even in the case of survival, the question of why people die can be answered. Humans lose their lives as a result of having to fight so hard to survive. The goal of the life cycle is survival from the moment of birth. We develop and evolve if we make it through. Our bodies eventually start to age more quickly until we pass away, which ends the life cycle. Most living organisms require food, water, sunlight, and oxygen in order to survive. Both humans and animals typically receive these supplies from their parents until they are able to do so on their own. For other people, even surviving on every day takes work and energy. Because life may be so difficult, the life cycle gets quite brief. Our bodies inevitably deteriorate as we age. They frequently pass away from different illnesses that are fatal. Cell damage is also the answer to death. Cells will eventually break down and perish. On its own, solar radiation is highly effective at this. Animals deal with this by constantly growing new cells and shedding the old ones. Errors do occur in this procedure, though, as it is not flawless. Errors accumulate throughout the process of replication and damage to the DNA that instructs the cell on how to operate, causing cells to perform less efficiently over time. In essence, this is aging. Additionally, telomeres, which function as a kind of plastic cap on the end of a DNA strand and are thought to help prevent DNA ends from fraying, are lost from the DNA throughout the replication process. It is believed that when the telomeres eventually run out, the cells are no longer able to duplicate themselves consistently. An organ gradually quits functioning since each subsequent generation of cells is inevitably less capable than the one before it. While some of these conditions are treatable, others are not. One of them will eventually become incurable, or a host of malfunctioning organs will come together to render life impossible. Really, nobody ever passes away from an age-related illness alone. Of course, illnesses and viruses can make organs fail earlier, and trauma can damage the body to the point where it is unable to heal itself and regenerate damaged cells. The formation of an entirely new body in the form of children solves the issue of the ultimate failure of cell replication. During this process, there may be some DNA variation that results in a more or less successful creature. Through sexual reproduction, it is also possible to combine the DNA of two parents, which can help avoid genetic disorders from affecting the offspring and create a new combination of features from both parents that may or may not be more suited for survival. Ultimately, reproduction creates a new organism that might or might not be more suited for survival than its parents. If it is less fit, it will produce fewer offspring than if it is fit for survival, and if it is more fit, it will have more offspring, and these new traits will become more common. In this way, the species evolves with its environment. This is advantageous for the survival of the species, but is only sustainable if the parents cease consuming resources. So it is not an entirely bad thing that we die. If we didn't, evolution would be at a slower pace, as offspring would have to outcompete with established generations, if at all. And one day the whole species would probably be wiped out by too much ozone, a virulent disease, a hotter or colder climate, a more powerful sun, or some other environmental change. In many respects, bacteria are the fittest organisms on the planet to cope with a changing environment because they evolve in hours, not millennia. The question of why living organisms, particularly humans, age and eventually die, also considered the contrast between single-celled organisms, which can theoretically live indefinitely through cell division, and multicellular organisms, which have a limited lifespan. The initial idea proposed by biologist Alexis Carrel in the 1920s suggested that cells are immortal and only die because they specialize into non-dividing forms. However, evidence from cell biologist Leonard Hayflick in the 1960s contradicted this, showing that normal human cells have a limited number of divisions. Various theories on cell aging and death are discussed, including genetic mutations, immune system issues, error catastrophe, protein deformation, and the role of free radicals. While antioxidants like vitamins C and E may offer some protection, they cannot completely halt aging and cell death. It is also suggested that the programmed death of cells and organisms may be a result of natural selection, favoring those who live long enough to ensure the survival of their offspring.